Welcome to the Pharmacist Voice podcast. This is episode 371. I'm your host, Ohio pharmacist Kim Newlove. This is my summer 2026 update, and you can find the show notes on thepharmacistvoice.com. If you're new to my updates, welcome. Today, what I'll do is update you on my family, my business, my podcasts, both of them, and what I've been listening to, reading, watching, and playing. These episodes let me peel back the curtain and let you get to know me just a little bit better. Previous updates are linked in the show notes for this episode, episode 371, on thepharmacistvoice.com. Just in case you are new to this show, here's just a little bit about me. Again, my name is Kim Newlove. I am a pharmacist, and I graduated from the University of Toledo College of Pharmacy with my BS Pharm in 2001. I have experience in hospital, retail, compounding, and behavioral health. I am not in clinical practice anymore. That means I don't work in pharmacies anymore. And some of my current job titles include voice actor. I want you to think medical narration and audiobooks. Podcast host, I host two shows. Author, I wrote one book and I am writing a second one right now. Coach, consultant, and instructor. I currently teach podcasting, audio engineering, audiobook narration, and drug pronunciations. And I am also a full time caregiver for my adult son who has autism. His name is Craig. Most of what I do focuses on spoken and written communication, and that's because I don't take my own voice for granted. I have a nonverbal son with autism who doesn't read, write, or speak. Watching him struggle to communicate has made quite an impression on me. It helps me appreciate having a voice and using it. There is power in having a voice and using it. So don't take your voice for granted, use it. There's power in having a voice and using it. If you would like to learn more about me, my business, and my happy clients, head over to LinkedIn and check out my profile. You can also visit my business website and my online store. The business website is thepharmacistvoice.com. That's my voiceover website where you can find a sample of my medical narration demo. If you click the podcast tab on thepharmacistvoice.com, you'll find the show notes for today's episode. Just click on episode 371. And if you click the store tab on thepharmacistvoice.com, you'll find my online store. You can also get to that directly by going to kimnewlove.com. Kimnewlove.com. That store has three departments, so to speak. They are podcasting, audiobook narration, and drug names, drug pronunciations. Now, if you want to go straight to the online store, again, go to kimnewlove.com. And that's it for my background information. Now, let's dive into my summer 2026 update. This covers December 2025 through June 2026. And no, I'm not going to go back to December and granularly talk about every little thing that has happened to me. I just might talk about maybe a client that I had back in December. So, my last seasonal update was in fall of 2025. It was in December. It was still fall in early December. And what I'm going to do is just do an annual summer update from here on out. No more seasonal updates. We're not going to do winter, spring, summer, and fall, just summer. So I picked up where I left off with my fall 2025 update, and we're going to get started with my family first. My update on my family. Now, in case you're new to this podcast, my family includes my husband, his name is Nathan, and our two adult sons. Their names are Craig and Derek. I'll talk about general family stuff first. I've just got three big things to talk about, and then I'll do an update on each person: Nathan, Craig, Derek, and then me. All right, let's get to this family update. I have three things to talk about. Number one, we went to Alaska. Number two, we had some concrete poured in our backyard. And number three, we kicked off a bathroom remodeling project. There's a lot to unpack there. I will go through this as quick as I can. For the family vacation, what we did was we left our house on May 20th and we got back on May 30th. And a lot happened during those 10 days or 11 days. We went from the Toledo, Ohio area, which is where we live, all the way to Chicago. We caught a Cubs game at Wrigley Field No, we're not necessarily Cubs fans, but we do love Major League Baseball, and Wrigley Field is one of those good old-fashioned baseball diamonds. So we were so happy to watch a Cubs game. Unfortunately, they lost to the Brewers, but still, it was a great experience. Then the next day, we hopped on a plane and we flew first class to Seattle, Washington. That was my very first time ever flying in first class. And I gotta say, I don't ever want to go back to coach. It was amazing. Once we got to Seattle, we rented a Verbo and we stayed for a few days and visited with family and friends. I actually got to see Dr. Nandita Kuti. Actually, it's Dr. Nandita Trivet now, and she and her husband just had a baby girl. So I got to see her shortly after she had the baby, or after they had the baby. The baby is beautiful, of course, and it was so nice to meet a friend slash podcast guest in person. Once we were done visiting friends and family in Seattle, we headed to the boat dock and we got on a Princess cruise ship and we cruised from Seattle to southeastern Alaska. The major cities and attractions that we saw were Juneau, Alaska, which is the capital, Skagway, Alaska, Glacier Bay National Park, and Ketchikan, Alaska. So, 3 cities, and then you throw in a national park that you can only see by cruising through with a ship. It was amazing and magical. We came, we saw, we ate. I guess that's the best way to say it. We saw all the things that we hoped to see, glaciers and listen, I'm afraid of whales, to be perfectly honest. I'm kinda glad I didn't see any whales. So we did not see whales, but we saw eagles and ravens and a sea otter. We saw mountains with snow on them. We saw glaciers. We smelled the fresh air. We ate all the food on the cruise ship. We drank. We went to the casino. It was amazing. And then when we came back, we kinda did most everything in reverse. Got off the cruise ship, flew from Seattle to Chicago, drove from Chicago back to the Toledo, Ohio area, and then we took a deep breath and slept in our own beds. It was a great vacation. That's the short of it. Now I'll talk about what we did with our backyard patio. We had started a backyard remodeling project last year, and we got, I would say, two-thirds of it done last year, but we still had one-third of the concrete patio to pour this year. We kind of ran out of time and ambition and money last year, so we waited until this year. We have poured the concrete, the patio is complete, and we're happy about that. We've got our patio table on there with the umbrella. Everything's looking good, and the rest of the patio has been great since last year. And then the third thing that I talked about was starting a bathroom remodeling project. Unfortunately, we ended up with a crack in our shower. I couldn't believe it. So, as I'm standing in the shower, there's this spot that keeps depressing. There's this spongy quality to it every time my heel digs into it. So, I looked at it and there's a crack in the floor of my shower. I can't use it anymore. I don't know what has already seeped down there. I don't want it to get worse. So, we stopped using the shower. We interviewed 4 contractors. We chose one, and we are waiting for our turn to get the remodeling project started. They gave us a possible start date of August 31st, 2026. And that's the short of it. We've got some demolition coming up here at the Newlove household. I am hoping that I will have a new remodeled bathroom by the end of September. Do I know how to start a family update with a bang or what? All right, let's move on to Nathan. Here's my update on my husband, Nathan. Nathan turned 51 years old this month, here in June 2026. And we celebrated with dinner at Nagoya Japanese Steakhouse. It's the one where they cook the food right in front of you. You sit at the table. If you're lucky, you can catch a piece of food in your mouth when they flip it off a spatula through the air. And again, you're lucky if you can catch it in your mouth. I tried 3 times. I am not one of those people that can do that. Nathan is still a plant manager at First Solar in Walbridge, Ohio. It's very close to where we live here in Perrysburg. Nathan and I tried curling. Yes, the sport of curling in February during the Olympics. That was fun. I was so happy he did it with me. I wouldn't want to do that alone. And he had tried it before, so he kind of coached me on how to bend your knees and push off of this thing. And I had recently done a podcast interview with one of the members of the curling club where we tried curling. So I didn't feel too unfamiliar with my surroundings, but it was, in fact, my first time actually doing the thing. It was fun, though. And then the last thing that I'll mention about Nathan is that he and I went to a euchre tournament in February. We did not win any prizes, but we raised money for the Golden Retriever Rescue Resource, which is a worthy charity. We love dogs, and they help dogs with the proceeds from the euchre tournament. Next up on the family update is Craig. Craig turned 23 in February. He's our son with autism, and he graduated high school at the age of 22 more than a year ago in May 2025. Craig spends most of his days at home and in our community. He has lots of things he likes to do, like going for rides to parks and then walking at the parks with us, of course. He likes it when we read books to him. Young adult fiction is his current favorite. He likes to watch YouTube on his iPad. Even though he's kind of a grown man, he still likes Baby Einstein and Thomas the Train and watching water park videos. He's got a lot of things that he likes to do, and we help him fill his days. We're working on having caregivers available to watch Craig so I can have a break to work and do other things. I gotta be honest, the caregiver situation has been difficult for us. I feel like we've tried really hard to find the right fit and, advertise the job, and people agree to do the job, but they don't show up for the job. Hope that makes sense. So we're having a lot of trouble with scheduling, I guess you could say. We've had some very kind and caring people, but again, scheduling problems are plaguing us. I don't want to dwell on negativity, so let's move on with Craig's update. This summer, Craig and I are participating in a treasure hunt in our town. It's like a scavenger hunt, but they call it a treasure hunt. We are solving puzzles and we're collecting stamps on a passport of sorts. I think we've got 10 out of 12 stamps on our current passport in phase one. And then we move to phase two. So it's a lot of fun. We can enter raffles once we fill up our passport, and that'll give us a chance to win some prizes. If you'd like to learn more about this treasure hunt, you can go to perrysburgtreasurehunt.com, and I'll put that link in the show notes just in case you want to check it out. The last thing I'll say about Craig during the Craig update here is that I continue to be Craig's Ohio shared living provider. That means I'm basically his head caregiver. We can't seem to find a good team yet to be part of Craig's life, so I continue to basically provide 24/7 care, except for when my husband is home and available to help, or when we have caregivers who are available to be with us. And that's it for the Craig update. Next up is Derek. Derek is our 21-year-old son. He turned 21 in April and he lived to tell the tale. He apparently had a very fun 21st birthday. If you can imagine being at college among your friends and getting to have your first legal drink, he did all those things. And then we took him on the cruise to Alaska about a month later. So we left on the cruise on May 23rd. He thoroughly enjoyed the cruise. We have these drink passes. You get like 15 drinks a day, whether it's fancy coffee or alcoholic beverages or other specialty beverages. And he enjoyed trying all kinds of alcoholic beverages on the cruise ship. Of course, the bartenders are excellent and they have great alcohol there. So he tried all kinds of stuff and he played several games in the casino. Now, I don't know how to play half the things that he knows how to play, and I don't know how he learned. But we all had a good time going to the casino. Even Craig went with us, and he watched. At this point, we're all home for the summer, right? Derek's home from college for the summer, and he's working a full time job at a summer internship local to us, about 45 minutes away. He starts his fourth and final year of college in August. I'm so excited. I have the tuition bill, I just need to pay it. And he's pursuing a bachelor's degree in business analytics at the University of Cincinnati. If all goes well, he will graduate in May 2027. He's just got 2 semesters left. Let's do it. I was talking to my husband the other day and telling him, we might actually want to book our hotel room. So, since we don't live local, we can stay near campus and attend that graduation ceremony. I would not miss it for anything. And finally, to round out the family update, it's an update on me. I know I already talk about myself enough, so I'm going to race through this pretty quick. In February, I had my friend Elmasa visit me. She was in town from Durham, North Carolina. You may have heard me talk about Elmasa on this show before because I went to see Elmasa in November in Durham, North Carolina. And Elmasa has also been a guest on the Pharmacist's Voice podcast. We went to pharmacy school, she was in my wedding, and we have remained close friends to this day. In February, I also went to my first and only ever Ramadan bazaar. I went there kind of selfishly to get my first ever tour of the mosque that's in our town and also to make a connection so I could invite the president of the Islamic Center of Greater Toledo to be on the Perrysburg podcast. I have a faith community leaders series on the Perrysburg podcast, and I was able to make a connection. And Dr. Mohammed Shalabi was on, I think it was episode 149 of the Perrysburg podcast. If you'd like to check that out, head over to perrysburgpodcast.com. In the spring, I met up with some of my Toledo area pharmacist friends for lunch. We go to a barbecue spot in, I guess it would be Holland, Ohio. It's called the Fire Pit Grill. I get to see my former cardiology professor from the University of Toledo, my first boss from Walgreens. I get to see his sister, which is really interesting. I didn't ever work with her, but she is a pharmacist as well. I got to see one of my favorite interns, Dr. Heather Eade. That's always fun. So, anyways, it is fun to meet up with pharmacist friends for lunch because we sure as heck didn't get to eat lunch when we were working in pharmacies. I probably shouldn't say that, but I'm going to leave it in because if you're a pharmacist or a tech, you know it's true. Also, in the past couple of months, I went to the annual meeting of the Ohio Pharmacists Association, which was in Columbus, Ohio. So that was in April. My buddy Greg Cramp, Dr. Greg Cramp, drove me down there with his wife Renata. We had a good conversation or two in the car, and I enjoyed networking once I got down there, and I earned a lot of CEs. I love to go to the annual meeting of the Ohio Pharmacists Association. If you are an Ohio pharmacist or a tech, join the Ohio Pharmacists Association. And just in case you don't know this, I serve on the Ohio Pharmacists Association Communications Committee. If you live in a state where you have a strong pharmacist association, join your state pharmacist association and get involved. I know communications is my jam, so I am on the communications committee. Other things that I'll update you on, kind of personal stuff. I went to a book festival in April in Toledo, Ohio. It was called the Northwest Ohio Teen Book Festival. I bought books, I met authors, and I got signatures in their books. It was a great time. And it was especially rewarding to go to this teen book festival because I interviewed, I think it was about 9 authors from the Teen Book Festival for the Perrysburg podcast. So it was a joy to meet them in person after having interviewed them over Zoom. I hope that makes sense. Other things that I've been up to, I proposed a class at Way Public Library. There is a public library in my town that is called the Way Public Library. And the class that I proposed teaching was how to find and listen to a podcast. And I know that might sound a little patronizing, but I'll tell you what, I was teaching Podcasting 101 at the local library, the Way Public Library, probably 3 years ago. And I had a sweet old couple. I would estimate their age at 80 plus. They were sitting there and they thought Podcasting 101 was a class about how to find a podcast and how to listen to it. So I proposed to the library that they let me teach that class to the public. I have not heard back yet, and I probably need to submit it a second time. Again, I hope that doesn't sound too patronizing, but it's something I care about. There's a lot of podcasts out there, but we could all use more podcast listeners. Just saying. So I'm there to help create more podcast listeners. I thought it was a great idea. Something I've talked about on the show before is that I'm helping to organize my high school class reunion, my 30-year high school class reunion. I am not the sole organizer. God, I hope not. But I'm on a committee. I'm helping to organize the 30-year high school class reunion. It's going, and the reunion's supposed to be in September 2026. So, in a little over 2.5 months. I'm also working on finishing a recipe book for my son, Derek. As he graduates from college and goes off on his own, he might want to have some of mom's recipes. So, as a gift, this was at Christmas time, I gave him a binder and I got him started with some recipes, and I'm working on adding to the recipe book for Derek. That's a great gift idea, very personalized gift idea for your son or daughter as they go out into the world. Other things I got cooking this summer are I need to get my BMW motorbike serviced this summer. I ride a BMW C400X scooter. It's technically a scooter. This is bike number 5. And you may think, oh, a scooter, it's not a real bike. I'll tell you, I've had real bikes that you have to shift before. I live in a small town with a lot of stoplights, a lot of 25 and 35-mile-per-hour speed limits. Riding a shift bike is annoying. So I have this BMW scooter and it's awesome. I love it, but I need to get it serviced this summer. I'm helping my mom and dad write memoirs. I don't know if I've talked about this on the show before, but I'm helping my mom use a tool called Storyworth to write her memoir. And I'm helping my dad using a tool called Remento. What's the difference? With Storyworth, you physically write or type your memoir. And then with Remento, you video yourself. So you record a video, AI transcribes it, and then you have an opportunity to review what it says for accuracy, and then it gets printed into the memoir. So I'm helping my mom and dad with their memoirs. Along the same lines as helping with a memoir, recording memories, I'm helping my dad with a genealogy project this summer. So in August of 2026 here, I've got some appointments with the Family Search Center at our local Latter-day Saints church, and there is a staffer who's willing to help us with our genealogy project. I feel incredibly grateful that there's a professional who knows what they're doing that can guide us through this process. I don't know what I'm doing, and I need help. So, hopefully, we'll get a good start in August. Two more things on my update, and then I will move on. Number one, this is a running joke on this series of updates. So, I'm going to say that my hair has now 100% grown out. I was growing the color out of my hair, it's done. So the next haircut that I get, it's just, we're chopping off white hair now. So I have white highlights that frame my face. These are natural highlights. I didn't pay any money to have these put in. And as it grows in, it's really kind of cool to look at. I plan to get a new headshot this summer so I can show everybody, so I can show the world what it looks like. But if you ever see me on Instagram, there are definitely some pictures of me probably looking very average every day, but you can see the white highlights around my face. Running joke complete. I don't think I'm ever going to talk about my hair growing out ever again because it's done. And then the last thing on my update here for just myself is that I am trying really hard not to freak out about my backlog of to dos. As I continue to be my son's full time caregiver, basically around the clock, except for when I get little breaks here and there, I have a lot of things that are accumulating. So I am super happy that I've got this monthly publication schedule for the Pharmacist's Voice podcast. And I'm trying to reduce the number of offerings that my business offers. And I'm reducing my schedule, my publishing schedule for the Perrysburg podcast from weekly to monthly as well. So I'm trying not to freak out about my backlog of to dos. I know I will get to them, but I must say, there's a lot of stuff on my to do list. And that does it for my family update. I am keeping it real. These summer updates or seasonal updates, whatever you want to call them, are an opportunity for me to peel back the curtain and let you know what's going on with me. As time goes on, I might be able to work more and more and more. But for right now, I'm just being honest about what I'm doing and what life is like. I think too many people try to make everything look perfect. And I got to say, everything's not perfect, but I'm able to do everything I want to do, just at a smaller scale. Next up is an update on my business. In case you're new to this show, the name of my business is The Pharmacist's Voice. The Pharmacist's Voice. In a nutshell, what I do is I write, narrate, podcast, coach, consult, and instruct. As far as writing, what am I doing? I am working on my second book. I can't reveal the title yet, but it's about local podcasting. Local podcasting. For the narration part of my business, I'm not narrating any audiobooks at this time, but I will be narrating the audiobook version of my second book, hopefully later this year. I have 0 medical narration projects going on this month in June. However, I do still plan to update my medical narration demo with my medical narration coach, Debbie Irwin, later this year. I did some different voiceover work this year. I stepped out of my comfort zone. A friend asked me to help with an internet radio station that he runs out of Cleveland, Ohio. So I did some lines for him. It ended up being fun, and I will gladly do it again. I would gladly do it again. As far as podcasting, I still host my 2 shows, the Pharmacist's Voice podcast, which you're listening to right now, and the Perrysburg podcast, which is my local podcast. We'll talk about both of them later in this episode. Let's keep going with this business update. Also on my list here, I'm going to talk about coaching and consulting. I am still working with clients one on one on podcast planning, author read audiobooks, and drug pronunciations. If you would like help starting your podcast or narrating your audiobook, reach out through the contact form on my website, thepharmacistvoice.com. Or you can go to kimnewlove.com/narration and you can get my free narration tip sheet. As far as podcast coaching, I am still working with one podcasting client locally and a few remotely. I have also consulted with one marketing company so far this year, and that's fun. I like to mix it up. It's fun to do different things. How about my pharmacist license? As far as my pharmacist license, I'm just keeping it up to date. I do my CEs, I pay my money with the Board of Pharmacy, and I keep my Ohio license current. I attend the, annual and mid-year meetings of the Ohio Pharmacists Association in April and November, and I get those CEs. I wish I had more time to earn the additional CEs on demand, but I'm just too busy at this time. Hopefully next year. Every year, though, I get more than enough CE to renew my license. In other news, I signed up to teach Podcasting 101 at the 577 Foundation again this year. I teach that in Perrysburg, Ohio. The 577 Foundation is an arts and nature education type center. A lot of people call it a folks school because it's plain people teaching plain people. We don't have teaching credentials or additional education. It's people who are extremely proficient at teaching something, whether it's fiber arts or painting or podcasting. We teach it at the 577 Foundation. It's a great place. I'm still waiting to hear when my class is, but I typically teach in September after Labor Day. It is so much fun to teach live, and I think it goes better and better every single year. I try to make my talk a little bit shorter and shorter every year to leave more and more time for questions. I learn something every time I teach that class. I haven't talked about my self paced online courses yet. You can find those at kimnewlove.com. I teach a podcasting course and a drug pronunciation course. Again, those are in my online store, kimnewlove.com. I was planning to shut the pronunciation course down last year, but people keep buying it, and I don't want to shut it down when somebody is just new to it. So, after careful consideration, I have left it open so far this year, but I believe I'll be shutting down both courses at the end of 2026. The online platform that I use is called Kajabi, and they keep raising the price. And I really don't have time to update the courses or advertise. So I'm just going to shut everything down no later than December 31st. If you have purchased a course from me, thank you so much for your support. But please hurry and learn all you can before the end of the year. I have to shut the courses down. I have just a few more things to say in my business update and then we'll move on. The first thing I want to say is that I went to a vision board workshop in January 2026. It was hosted by Metapreneur's co founder, Dr. Michelle Fritsch. In that vision board workshop, I selected my word for 2026, which is alignment. And then I also selected my values for 2026. I'll read them to you right off of my sheet here. My values are autonomy, variety, and simplicity. In 2026, I live in alignment by choosing autonomy, simplicity, and variety, saying no to what distracts or depletes me, and saying yes only to what is wise, sustainable, and meaningful. And that's a statement that I wrote right there on my vision board. If I get a chance, I will create a YouTube video about my vision board for 2026 and share it with you on my YouTube channel. If you are not subscribed to the Pharmacist Voice YouTube channel, head over to YouTube and look me up. Subscribe today. Speaking of YouTube videos, I published some YouTube videos that are not also audio podcast episodes. This is something new for me. I don't do a lot of this. But two that come to mind that you should probably check out are a behind the scenes look at the pronunciation course, my drug pronunciation course. I just recorded that in May, right before I left for Alaska. And then the other one you should check out is my conversation with Antonio Chacha. He answered the Moneyball 2.0 question. So check that out. I believe that one's from January. I'll have a link to my YouTube channel in the show notes on thepharmacistvoice.com. You can also just go to thepharmacistvoice.com, and my YouTube channel is linked among all the social media links. Two other business activities this year that I have done are pitching clients. So I have pitched the Ohio Pharmacists Association to let me help them restart their podcast. And I have also conducted a number of meet and greet Zoom calls with colleagues and students and potential clients as well. If you would like to have a meet and greet Zoom call with me, then check out the link in the show notes on thepharmacistvoice.com. That does it for my business update. Next up is an update on both of my podcasts. I will keep this very short. First is my update about the Pharmacist's Voice podcast, which is what you're listening to right now. The Pharmacist's Voice podcast still explores pharmacy topics and careers, so you feel connected to the profession of pharmacy and inspired to contribute to it. But if you haven't noticed, I switched from a weekly schedule to a monthly schedule at the end of January 2026. It is working out so well for me and my family, and I am so glad that I did it. And as a surprise, I'm actually getting more daily downloads for the Pharmacist's Voice podcast now that I'm publishing monthly rather than, what I got download wise when I published weekly. I did not expect that. So, whoever you are listening to this podcast, thank you so much for listening. By the way, if you follow the show closely, my June episode, so today's episode, was supposed to be part of the Pharmacist Authors series, but I decided to do the summer update today instead. So we'll be doing an episode of the Pharmacist Authors series next month in July 2026. My other podcast is still on a weekly schedule at this time. It is called the Perrysburg Podcast. It is a resource for Perrysburg, Ohio residents. We talk about what's in Perrysburg and why people like to live here. The website is perrysburgpodcast.com. I was planning to straight up end the podcast after 3 years. It was supposed to be a 3-year service project, and then boom, done. But I have chosen to keep it going once a month instead of ending it. I am enjoying it so much. I just don't think it's time to end it. And in this fourth year of the Perrysburg podcast, I'll be collaborating with an organization right here in Perrysburg every other month. So I don't even have to supply all of the content, which is wonderful. So moving forward, I'm collaborating with an organization that I haven't named on that podcast yet. So I'm not going to name it here. But I must say, I feel good about it and I am excited about it. It's going to be great. Our first collaboration episode will publish in August 2026. That's it for the Perrysburg podcast update. In other podcasting news, I would like to mention that I was on the other side of the mic this month. I got featured as a guest on the Pin Leader podcast with Dr. Shayanda Gore. We talked about using a podcast as a business card. There's nothing like getting your voice in somebody's ears, telling them a story, and giving them a reason to connect with you. I am so passionate about using a podcast as a business card. I will put a link to that episode of the Pin Leader podcast in the show notes on thepharmacistvoice.com. That's it for my podcast update. Now for my favorite part. I will let you know what I've been listening to, reading, watching, and playing lately. It is not a comprehensive list, it's just a bunch of samples. All right, what have I been listening to? This includes music, podcasts, and audiobooks. For music, I have an eclectic taste and I'm often with my son Craig, so whatever he likes, I tend to add to a playlist. I currently have a playlist from August 2025 and I am still adding to it. So, just for fun, we added the Tetris and Super Mario video game theme songs to his playlist from August 2025. We have until the end of July to add to it, and then I start over with a new playlist for 2026. And we also added the Indiana Jones theme song from the movie and the Imperial March. That's Darth Vader's theme song. Darth Vader's theme song. Pretty cool. So it's kind of funny. I'll be sitting in traffic and we're listening to Taylor Swift, and then all of a sudden the Tetris theme song comes on. It's kind of funny. As far as podcasts, I'm not going to go on and on about what podcasts I've been listening to. The School of Podcasting podcast is still my go to podcast on Mondays. I've also been listening to a lot of others, and one of them is the Pin Leader podcast, which I was a guest on just this month. As far as audiobooks, I listen to a lot of audiobooks. Instead of telling you a comprehensive list of everything I've listened to between December and now, I'll just tell you what I'm listening to now. I just started Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I previously listened to The Pin Leader Path by Dr. Shaanda Gore, the host of the Pin Leader podcast. I listened to Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I re listened to Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, and that was after I watched the movie in the theater. I watched Project Hail Mary probably opening weekend. It was so good. I listened to The Purpose Code by Dr. Jordan Grummett. He also wrote Taking Stock, which I listened to just last year, late in 2025. And I think I'll stop there. That's a good list. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I love audiobooks. I especially love author read audiobooks. Big fan. What have I been reading? I typically read printed books with my son Craig, but not for myself. But when I read one for myself, I definitely include it in this list. So the one and only that I can think of in the past few months that I've read for myself is The Practical Guide to Peptides for Pharmacists by Dr. Lisa Fost. Again, it's called The Practical Guide to Peptides for Pharmacists, and it was by Dr. Lisa Fast. She was in my Moneyball episode. I think that was episode 365 of the Pharmacist's Voice podcast. In that episode, she talked about how important peptides will be for the future of pharmacy. Other books that I read, printed books that I actually physically touched, were the Spy School series by Stuart Gibbs. My son Craig and I finished the series. We love Stuart Gibbs books. He does mid grade, or I guess they call it middle school grade fiction books. So, young adult or middle grade fiction books. Love Stuart Gibbs. We also finished the Moonbase Alpha series by Stuart Gibbs. And we read Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. Elizabeth Gilbert wrote Eat, Pray, Love. Great book, but we read Big Magic together. Craig and I read Big Magic. Great book, highly recommend. We also read some books by local authors. They're those type of books where there's a picture of yesteryear, so maybe 1960, and then today, like the 2020s, right? So many years later, you compare two images. So we read two books like that. One is titled Then and Now by Perrysburg residents Mark Weber and Gary Franks. And then there's a book about Toledo. It's called Hindsight, and that's by Ben Morales. So, Then and Now is about Perrysburg by Perrysburg residents Mark Weber and Gary Franks. And there's a book about Toledo called Hindsight by Ben Morales. I will put links to all of these in the show notes on thepharmacistvoice.com. The last book I'll mention is the one that we're reading right now. It is called What Color's Your Parachute for Teens? What Color is Your Parachute for Teens? It's a good book. It's kind of about career planning. And I kind of wish that I would have had this book when I was a teenager. I certainly wish that I would have read it with my son, Derek. That's it for what I've been reading. What have I been watching? We have watched a really eclectic mix of movies since I last, did one of these updates. We have watched a lot of Christmas movies. Elf, was one of our favorites, and National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation was one of our favorite Christmas movies, as always. We also watched A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. It's the Mr. Rogers story. On TV, we've watched Survivor, 2 seasons since I last spoke to you. Most recently, we watched season 50. We love Survivor. I don't know if you know this, but I tried out for Survivor many years ago, probably around 2004. I did not get on the show, clearly. We have been watching other TV shows like Little House on the Prairie. We grew up with that, my husband and me, and now we're rewatching the whole entire series and we're loving it. We watch Shark Tank. We watched a movie called Return to Oz. It was not very good, in my opinion. It was pretty creepy. It was a sequel to the Wizard of Oz movie. We recently watched the Sheep Detectives movie with Hugh Jackman in it. It was very cute. We liked it. And something that we watched on Mother's Day in May was Remarkably Bright Creatures. It's the film adaptation of the book Remarkably Bright Creatures. It features a giant Pacific octopus, and we watched it on Netflix. That's it for what I've been watching. I could go on, but I'll leave it there. What have I been playing? And this is my last category before I wrap this up. I already talked about going on a cruise ship and going to the casino, so it should be no surprise that I've been playing blackjack, craps, and roulette at the casino on the cruise ship. And then I continue to play Ticket to Ride Switzerland and USA on my iPad. And that's it. That's all I can remember playing in the last few months. We haven't been playing any board games since Derek got home from college because we went on the cruise and now he's working a summer internship and he's got a kind of long commute. So that's it. That's what I've been playing lately. And now it's time to wrap this episode up. I hope you enjoyed hearing an update about my family, my business, both podcasts, and what I've been listening to, reading, watching, and playing. Thank you very much for listening to my Summer 2026 update. This has been the Pharmacist's Voice podcast, episode 371. Visit thepharmacistvoice.com to read the show notes. In the show notes, you will find links to my business website, my online store, books that I mentioned, my other updates, my social media links, and more. Everything you need is on thepharmacistvoice.com. If you know someone who might like this episode, share it with them. And if you like this podcast, subscribe to or follow the Pharmacist's Voice podcast on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube so you never miss an episode. Thank you so much for listening today. Have a great summer, and I'll talk to you in July.